February 9th, 2004. A quiet rural road in northern New Hampshire. It is dark. It is cold. A black Saturn has crashed into a snowbank on the side of Route 112. A passing bus driver stops and speaks to the young woman inside. She tells him she is fine. She has already called for help. He drives away to call police from his home. When police arrive 9 minutes later, the car is empty. Her coat is still inside. Her textbooks are still inside. Her handbag is still inside. Maura Murray was 21 years old. She was a nursing student, an athlete, a daughter, a sister. She has not been seen since. Welcome to Buried Threads. Let's dig. Before she became one of the internet's most obsessed over cold cases, Maura Murray was a person. Born in Brockton, Massachusetts in 1982, Maura grew up in Hanson, one of 5 children in a close, athletic family. Her father, Fred, was a veteran. Her family described her as an overachiever, a National Honor Society member who excelled academically and athletically. She ran track. She played basketball. She hiked the White Mountains of New Hampshire with her family every summer. She was bright enough to earn a congressional nomination to West Point, one of the most prestigious military academies in the United States. She attended for 2 years before transferring to the University of Massachusetts Amherst to pursue nursing. Her family said she had a signature smile, dimples, a kind heart. But by 2004, things beneath the surface were more complicated. Maura had been dealing with a series of personal setbacks. She had used a stolen credit card to order pizza deliveries. Police had given her a warning. She had crashed her father's car just days before she disappeared. She had been called into the office of a superior at UMass for reasons that were never made public. A few days before she vanished, she was working her security job on campus when the phone rang. Whatever was said on that call, she burst into tears and left work early. Nobody has ever identified who called her, or what was said. Despite everything, she was still showing up, still studying, still running, until February 9th. The morning of February 9th, 2004 started like any other. Maura submitted homework electronically. She went to her classes, and then, quietly, without telling anyone, she started preparing to leave. She emailed her professors. There had been a death in the family, she wrote. She would be away for a week. Her family later confirmed. There had been no death, no funeral, no crisis. The email was a lie. She emailed her work supervisor the same thing. She then called the owner of a ski condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire, a place she had visited before. She left a voicemail asking about availability. She packed a bag, toiletries, makeup, running gear, textbooks, several days of clothes, birth control. She also packed accident forms from her recent car crash, which suggested she intended to come back. At 3:15 in the afternoon, surveillance cameras caught her at an off-campus ATM. She withdrew $280, nearly everything in her account. That is the last confirmed image of Maura Murray alive. Nobody knew she was leaving. Nobody knew where she was going. She did not tell her boyfriend. She did not tell her sister. She did not tell her parents. She got into her black 1996 Saturn, pointed it north, and drove. 4 hours later, the car was in a ditch on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, a remote rural stretch of roads surrounded by dense forest, in winter, in the dark, and Maura was gone. At 7:27 in the evening, a local resident named Butch Atwood was driving his school bus home along Route 112 when he saw a black Saturn crashed into a snowbank on the side of the road. He pulled over. The woman inside told him she was fine. She had already called AAA. She did not need any help. Atwood later told police she seemed calm, not panicked, not injured, just composed, waiting. He drove to his house a short distance away to call police because his mobile phone signal was better there. He told them there had been a crash, a woman at the scene. She seemed okay. Police arrived at 7:46 p.m., 9 minutes after Atwood's call. The car was empty. Her coat was on the seat. Her mobile phone was in the car. Her handbag was in the car. Her textbooks were in the car. A map of New Hampshire ski areas was open on the passenger seat. An open bottle of wine, purchased earlier that day, was in the car. She had not called AAA. There was no record of any call. There were no footprints confirmed leading away from the scene in any specific direction. The road had been treated with sand and salt. It made tracking almost impossible. 9 minutes. That is how long Butch Atwood was away from that car. In 9 minutes, Maura Murray disappeared completely, and she took nothing with her. The search that followed was, by many accounts, deeply flawed from the beginning. Police initially treated the case as a missing person situation, not a crime. This meant certain investigative steps that could have been taken in the first hours simply were not. Dogs were brought in. They tracked a scent that moved up the road from the crash site, suggesting Maura had walked along the road rather than into the woods. But the trail went cold. No confirmed direction, no confirmed destination. The area was searched. Volunteers combed the dense woodland around Route 112. Divers searched nearby bodies of water. Nothing was found. Maura's father, Fred Murray, arrived and began conducting his own searches, walking those woods himself, repeatedly, for years. He erected signs. He knocked on doors. He refused to stop. Fred Murray has been publicly critical of the police response from the beginning. He believed from early on that his daughter was the victim of foul play, and that the investigation treated her disappearance as a runaway case when it should have been treated as a potential homicide. The New Hampshire State Police have maintained that the case remains open and active. In 2009, it was added to the newly established NH Cold Case Unit. In 2022, 18 years after Maura vanished, police conducted another search of a property near the crash site, a home that had connections to a person of interest. The results of that search were never made public. Fred Murray died in 2023, still without answers. His daughter's case remains unsolved. Here is what makes the Maura Murray case unlike almost any other missing persons case in history. Maura disappeared on February 9, 2004. Facebook launched at Harvard on February 4, 2004, 5 days earlier. Maura Murray's disappearance is widely considered to be the first major missing persons case of the social media age, and the internet handled it the way the internet handles everything, obsessively, relentlessly, and sometimes very badly. Within months of her disappearance, a website had been set up dedicated to the case. By 2005, forum users on websleuths.com were analyzing every detail: her driving route, the position of the car, the open bottle of wine, the ski condo voicemail. Threads ran to hundreds of pages. Regulars developed nicknames for each other. They argued. They formed alliances. They accused each other of being shills for people connected to the case. By 2007, there were Facebook and MySpace pages. By 2010, Google Maps had been used to reconstruct her likely route from UMass to Route 112, with forum users debating every turn she may have taken. By 2015, a dedicated podcast called Missing Maura Murray had launched, and within 2 years it had been downloaded more than 8 million times. Let that number sit for a moment. 8 million downloads. For a podcast about one missing woman from New Hampshire, armchair detectives identified suspects. They mapped the road. They walked the route themselves, posting photos and GPS coordinates. They interviewed locals and uploaded the recordings. They sent Freedom of Information requests to the New Hampshire State Police. They hired private investigators. One group raised money to fund their own search of the woodland near Route 112. The internet didn't just follow this case, it consumed it. One theory, promoted heavily online, was that Maura had staged her own disappearance, that the lies she told before leaving, the cash withdrawal, the packed bag, all pointed to someone who wanted to start over, to vanish deliberately. Some forums dedicated entire threads to sightings. A woman matching her description, seen in Canada, in Florida, in Europe. None were ever confirmed. Her family strongly disputes this. Her sister Julie has said the items Maura packed, including accident forms and textbooks, suggest she planned to return. You don't pack paperwork for a trip you're not coming back from. A journalist named James Renner became so consumed by the case that he spent years investigating it, drove Route 112 dozens of times, interviewed witnesses, and wrote an entire book. He later admitted publicly that the case had nearly destroyed him. His marriage suffered, his mental health suffered, and he found himself unable to let go of something he knew he could never solve. He is not alone in that. The Maura Murray case has a way of doing that to people. A podcast called Missing Maura Murray ran for years. Dedicated subreddits with tens of thousands of members exist to this day. New theories surface constantly. Old ones get recycled. Every anniversary brings a new wave of coverage, new speculation, new pain for the Murray family. 20 years later, the internet is still looking. Maura Murray has never been found. The questions in this case are not small ones. Why did she lie to her professors about a death in the family? What happened on that phone call that made her cry and leave work early? Why did she withdraw all her money? Why did she drive 4 hours north on a winter night to a road she had no confirmed reason to be on? Why did she tell Butch Atwood she had already called AAA when she hadn't? How did she disappear in 9 minutes from a rural road with nowhere obvious to go, and leave no confirmed trail? And the question that haunts investigators most, did she get into another vehicle? Was someone else on that road? Did someone stop? Someone she knew, or someone she didn't? And was she inside that car before police arrived? There is a man who lives near the crash site who was considered a person of interest for years. His property was searched. The results were never released. He has denied any involvement. There is the theory that she walked into the woods and succumbed to the cold. February in northern New Hampshire is brutal. Without a coat, without her phone, the forest would have killed her quickly. But no remains have ever been found in over 2 decades of searching. There is the theory, still discussed online, that she is alive somewhere, that she started over, that she chose this. Her family does not believe that. They believe something bad happened on that road. They are probably right. We just don't know what. While the internet built theories and podcasts and Reddit threads, Maura's family was living inside the worst version of this story. Her sister Julie has spent 20 years carrying this. She has started a podcast. She maintains a TikTok account with hundreds of thousands of followers. She answers questions from strangers every day about what happened to her sister. In one interview, she said, "To have strangers online come up with wild conspiracy theories and speculation and misinformation, that's just another layer of re-traumatization on top of a very vulnerable family." Fred Murray, Maura's father, spent the rest of his life searching, walking those woods, putting up signs, demanding better from the police. He died in 2023 still looking. He never found her. The FBI has released an age progression image showing what Maura might look like today. She would be 42 years old. She would have graduated. She might have become a nurse. She might have had a family. Instead, she is a face on a missing persons poster in a police station in Haverhill, New Hampshire, a name on a cold case file, a photograph on a website her family built because they had no other choice. The Murray family has said simply, there is no quitting them. They will keep going. 20 years. Still no answers. Still looking. So, what actually happened to Maura Murray? 20 years of investigation, 8 million podcast downloads, and thousands of hours of amateur detective work have produced 4 main theories. None of them are proven. All of them are plausible. And the fact that we still can't rule any of them out is what makes this case so difficult to close. The first is the exposure theory. Maura was in crisis. She was alone. It was February in northern New Hampshire. Temperatures that night were well below freezing. Without her coat, without her phone, disoriented and possibly in shock from the crash, she walked into the dense forest beside Route 112 and died from hypothermia. This theory is supported by the dogs. They tracked her scent along the road, not into the woods, but tracking in those conditions is imperfect. The forest around Haverhill is extraordinarily remote. Bodies have been lost in terrain like that for decades. The absence of remains does not mean they aren't there. The second is the second vehicle theory. 9 minutes is a very short window. Too short, many believe, for Maura to have gone far on foot, especially without a coat in the dark and the cold. The theory is that someone drove past, someone who knew her or someone who didn't, someone who offered help, someone she trusted, or someone she had no choice but to get into a vehicle with. This theory is supported by the complete absence of any trail, no footprints, no physical evidence of any direction of travel. In 9 minutes, in a vehicle, she could have been miles away before the first police car arrived. There is a man who lives near the crash site who has been a person of interest for years. His name has circulated widely in online forums. His property was searched by police in 2022, 18 years after Maura vanished. The results of that search were never released. He has consistently denied any involvement. No charges have ever been brought. The third theory is the deliberate disappearance, the lies, the cash, the packed bag, the ski condo voicemail, the emailed professors. All of it looks, to some people, like someone who had planned to go somewhere and start again. Her sister Julie disputes this firmly. You don't pack accident forms and university textbooks for a one-way trip. But the theory has never fully gone away, and every unconfirmed sighting over the years has added fuel to it. The fourth theory, one that the Murray family has raised, is that something happened at UMass before she left. The phone call that made her cry, the meeting with a superior whose contents were never disclosed, the credit card incident. Some believe Maura was in serious trouble of some kind, academic, personal, or otherwise, and that whatever happened on that phone call on February 5th set the chain of events in motion. If someone pressured her, threatened her, or was involved in whatever drove her to leave, we have never found out who it was. Her family believes she is dead. Police treat the case as suspicious. No arrest has ever been made. No person of interest has ever been charged. The road on Route 112, where her car was found, looks the same today as it did in 2004. Quiet, remote, surrounded by trees. Every year, people drive that road and slow down at the spot where the Saturn went into the ditch, looking for something. Nobody has found it yet. There is something worth saying here, and it matters. The Maura Murray case has been downloaded millions of times as a podcast. It has been watched millions of times on YouTube. It has been debated on Reddit for 20 years. People have built entire platforms, entire careers, entire identities on her story. Most of them never knew her. The true crime industry, and it is an industry, generated over $1 billion in revenue in 2023. Podcasts, YouTube channels, documentaries, merchandise, live events where audiences pay to sit in theaters and watch unsolved cases presented like theater. The Maura Murray case has contributed to all of it. Her disappearance has been monetized in ways her family never consented to and never benefited from. Her sister Julie said something that is worth sitting with. She said that every time a new theory goes viral, every time a stranger decides they have cracked the case, every time misinformation spreads as fact, her family has to live through it, again and again and again. She said it is another layer of re-traumatization on top of an already unbearable loss. And here is what the internet specifically got wrong. Not in general terms, but in this case, with this family on the record. Hundreds of posts, articles, and YouTube videos stated as fact that Maura Murray was expelled from West Point. Disgraced, asked to leave. She was not. She transferred voluntarily to UMass to study nursing. Nobody knows exactly why she left. But that story, the disgraced military dropout, spread so widely it became part of the accepted background of the case. It shaped how millions of people understood her before they had even heard about Route 112. Her boyfriend at the time, Billy Sullivan, was never named as a suspect by police. He cooperated fully with investigators. He has spoken publicly to clear his name. That did not stop him from being treated for years as the prime suspect in forum threads, podcast comment sections, and Reddit posts by strangers who had decided they already knew. In 2021, a viral social media post claimed that a nurse matching Maura's description was working at a hospital in Connecticut. It spread across platforms in hours. The Murray family were flooded with messages. Journalists called. People started new threads. The family had to respond publicly. It led nowhere. It was unconfirmed. The internet does not feel the cost of being wrong. The Murray family does, every single time, and yet the content keeps coming. New episodes, new angles, new channels discovering the case for the first time and presenting it as if it has never been told before, to audiences who weren't alive when Maura disappeared. The internet did not find Maura Murray. In 20 years, with millions of people looking, thousands of theories, multiple private investigations, and more podcast hours than anyone could count, nobody found her. What the internet did find was an audience, a following, a brand. There is a version of true crime that serves a genuine purpose. That gives voice to cases the mainstream media ignored, That keeps pressure on investigators who might otherwise close a file. That gives families a way to reach people who might have information. But there is another version, the version that turns grief into content. That treats a missing woman as a puzzle to be solved rather than a person to be mourned. That measures success in downloads and subscribers rather than in answers. The Maura Murray case has been both of those things simultaneously for 20 years. True crime asks us to pay attention, to care about people who might otherwise be forgotten. That is genuinely important. But Maura Murray is not a puzzle. She is not an unsolved mystery waiting for the right Reddit user to crack it. She is Fred Murray's daughter. She is Julie Murray's sister. She was 21 years old. She packed accident forms because she was planning to come home. She never made it. Maura Murray disappeared on February 9th, 2004. She was 21 years old. Her car is gone. Her coat is gone. The wine bottle is gone. But Route 112 is still there. The forest is still there. And the questions, after 20 years, are still there. Why did she lie? Who called her? Where was she going? And what happened in those 9 minutes? If this got under your skin, it was supposed to. More cases are coming. Subscribe so you don't miss them. We dig up what others bury.